Alright guys, welcome back to Urge. We are moving on in the subclass series into the next subclass, which is the Circle of Dreams Druid.
Right.
So, if you're new to the channel, to the subclass series, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the subclass, look at all of the abilities that are gained in the subclass, and then we're going to rate it based on how it improves on the base class for its roleplay value, combat value, and overall class synergy. So, without any further ado, we're going to jump straight into it.
Right. So, starting out at level 2, you get Balm of the Summer Court. Some nice flowery language abilities here on this subclass. And essentially, you get a collection of Fey energy represented by some lovely little D6s equal to your Druid level. You can then, as a bonus action, spend up to half of your collection, or less, to heal someone. You should roll them. Essentially, they become hit dice. And you heal them that amount. And they also get temporary hit points equal to the number of dice spent. So let's just say, for example, you're level 8. You spend 4 of these dice, roll a 6 and 3 2s. So they get 12 hit points healed, and then they get 4 temporary hit points. You get all your dice back when you finish a long rest. So it's some free heals with 120-foot range. Also, that's important to keep in mind as a bonus action. So as far as the amount of heals, it's essentially a slightly more powerful heal and a doubled range healing word that you don't take a spell slot to use. And you can do however many you want to, up to a half at any one bump.
Right. Level 6, you get Hearth of Moonlight and Shadow. Home can be wherever you are, is what it says.
Oh boy.
So during a short or long rest, you can invoke a shadowy power. And basically what this does is it puts a 30-foot radius sphere of magic around your camp while you're in a short rest or long rest. And total cover does block the sphere, so it doesn't like go around the stuff. But while within the sphere, you and your allies gain +5 bonus to stealth and perception checks. And any light from flames isn't visible from outside. So basically it's just going to make your camp a little bit safer. You're going to be able to see people coming towards your camp a lot easier with your increased perception and stealth checks for people if you're trying to hide or whatever for whatever reason. But it does have to be during a rest, so that is a big caveat there.
You can't just pop the bubble out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Be tried.
The sphere vanishes at the end of the rest or when you leave the sphere. So if you create the sphere and then you leave it, it goes away. So something else to keep in mind there.
Your next ability you get at level 10 is Hidden Pass, which essentially is a two-purpose teleportation. You can use a bonus action to teleport yourself up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space, or you can use your action to teleport a willing creature up to 30 feet away. Uses equal to your wisdom modifier, whatever it may be. You get all of them back on a long rest. So it's 5 teleports for yourself. Bonus action 60 feet, which is double the length of Misty Step normally. So essentially Misty Step on steroids, or you can Misty Step somebody else for an action. So use teleportation at level 10.
Level 14, you get Walker in Dreams. So basically, when you finish a short rest, you can cast a spell for free, with those spells being Dream, with you as the messenger, Scrying or Teleportation Circle. But the Teleportation Circle that you cast through this ability functions differently than the regular Teleportation Circle. Basically, what happens is it opens a portal that to the last location where you took a long rest was. It does have to be on the same plane of existence, so there's a little bit of limitation there.
Right.
And if you haven't taken a long rest on your current plane, the spell fails, but it isn't wasted. So the other thing too is it doesn't require any material components to cast any of these spells. But once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So basically, once a day, you're going to get a free cast of Dream, Scrying, or the limited Teleportation Circle.
Good word. I think of it as like if any of you guys have ever played World of Warcraft, it's like a Hearthstone. Essentially, you can go back, whatever place you've saved as your home, you can just pop back to there, and that's essentially what it is.
Yes. It does have to follow a short rest as well, so something else to keep in mind. So, that being said, we'll move right on to the rating section. So, first up is the roleplay value. So, here's the thing. The Balm of Summer Court, the healing ability isn't really RP related. Hidden Pass is teleporting, essentially short teleports. Kind of, maybe very niche RP. You only get a couple of uses of it a day, so you have to be really sparing with how you use it.
Right, trying to cover a cavern real quick if you had to in a pinch.
Right. Then you have your Hearth of Moonlight and Shadow. It has to be used during short rest. Walker in Dreams. You get the choice to cast some spells for free after a short rest. But the question is, how often do you need to cast the Dream spell? How often do you need to cast Scrying?
Yep.
How often do you want to even go back to where your last rest was? Usually that's going to set you back. And if it was like a save the party, get us out of here kind of thing, maybe. But you have to finish a short rest before you can do it.
Right. You'd be like, hide out for some cave for an hour and then get out.
Right. So how useful are those things really? Questionable. So we went ahead and we decided to give it a 2.5 for the RP value. Yep. Just because...
2.5.
There's not a whole lot going on, and the things that are going on are kind of strange.
Yeah, and in fact, your two major abilities that are RP are specifically tied to a short rest. Like, you can't just use your abilities whenever or based on limited use or when something else triggers. Like, it's specifically only during a short rest. And if your party ever takes more than 3 in any given day, I would call some shenanigans. Because most of the times you're maybe taking 2.
Yeah,
I would think a lot of times maybe just 1, depending on how, if you haven't gotten a lot of combat, you're needing some hit dice rolled for. If you don't have a warlock in your party that wants its spells back on a short rest, but yeah, not a great score on the combats on the RP side.
Freudian slip.
Yeah, and some foreshadowing as well. Speaking of combat, on that side of things as well, you've got essentially a double use Misty Step on steroids at level 10 that you can teleport yourself twice the distance of a normal Misty Step for no spell slot equal to Wisdom modifier usage or somebody else a Misty Step distance as an action. So technically, the way it's worded, we talked about this earlier, you could spend your whole turn to teleport you and somebody else away from trouble. Yeah. You can move them 30 feet as your action and move yourself 60 feet as your bonus action in a turn if you really need to get out of trouble that bad. But you could do it.
That's 2 of your 5 uses right there.
Yeah, but that's right. That's 40% of your usage for the day, assuming your wisdom is capped by level 10.
Right.
You're done at that point. And then of course your first ability, Balm of Summer Court, is definitely combat based. I mean, you're healing. It's some free, better version of
Healing Word.
A Healing Word, about a double the range, and a slightly bigger dice, and you get the temporary hit points with it. So it's
right.
But that's it, and there's you get no additional spells with Druid subclasses unless you take Circle of the Land. That's it. So we didn't give it a great score either here, just a 2 out of 5 possible flumps because your Hearth of Moonlight and Shadow has no effect on your combat, and Walker in Dreams also has 0 effect on any combat you may do.
Right, and it's just super. The only reason we even gave it a 2 and not a 1 is because basically by giving you the Summer Court ability, it's letting you be a little bit more... you don't have to be as sparing with your healing.
You can be more aggressive with your spell usage.
Yeah, your spell slots can be used more aggressively. Just because you're not having to worry about casting Healing Word. You can just use your ability, which is a similar... It's comparable to Healing Word.
Right.
Right. You can pump it up a little bit more, but it's going to be taking away from your total uses for the day, obviously.
Right.
So it's basically giving you a couple low-level spell slots. Early on, it's definitely probably a lot better.
Right.
Well, it kind of scales, but your HP scales faster than this does.
Right.
And the thing with 5e, too, is the way combat works and damage works, you can't really, as healers, you can't really keep up with damage very well. So...
much better off mitigating it up front if possible.
Right.
Exactly. Than trying to heal it back.
So trying to retroactively help is going to be a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
So 2 out of 5 for that again.
Yes.
Not the greatest on the combat side. Lastly, we have the overall synergy. With this, the thing with druids is they're very strange on their base class.
Yep.
Because the only main things that you get as a druid is you have your spellcaster.
Yep.
So you have access to all these spells, and then you also have wild shape.
Yep.
But unless you're Circle of Moon, wild shape isn't really going to be impacted much, and you're probably not going to really even use it too often.
At least not in combat.
Right. For RP senses, definitely it'll probably be used, but being a level CR1 monster is not going to be game changing by any means.
Right.
Later on, unless you get Moon and you're just going wild with your elemental wild shapes. Yep. But that being said, it's not really helping. It's not really hurting it too much, just because, like we said, indirectly it's helping your spell slot usage be more aggressive because you're not having to spend as many of the smaller spells on healing. So with that, and then having the ability to, sometimes scrying can be very important.
Yes, I mean, it can be life saving.
It can be very important, and it can be almost useless depending on what's happening in your campaign. So having the ability to be able to cast it on a regular basis, even if it's just once a day for free.
Yeah, and ignoring the material components as well. It's a 1,000 gold material components.
It can be expensive, yeah. So having that can be helpful. So we just had to go with a 3 on the overall synergy, just because it's going to help you a little bit more with the main synergy being your spell usage and just kind of offsetting some of the cost to do some of those things. But again, not going to be super game changing in any real sense. But with that, it's not a very strong subclass mechanically, I would say. It is a kind of interesting working with dreams and short rests. It's kind of an interesting mechanic to interact with, because not a whole lot of classes or subclasses do much with short rests, other than like Song of Rest and stuff like bards and
right.
Most stuff is in combat or out of combat, and usually during short rest you can't do anything. You just have to rest. So having that it's kind of unique to the subclass. So again, just because of our ratings, don't shy away. If this really sounds interesting or cool to you,
go for it.
Make it work. I'm sure you can find some interesting things to make it cool and everything like that. So do that. Have fun with it. But that's going to wrap it up for this one, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications when our new videos come out. Let us know in the comments down below if you play a druid or if you play Circle of Dreams. I'd love to hear how that actually works. And or if you play with someone who does play Circle of Dreams, we'd love to hear about that and how that's actually going in your campaign and everything, and how your thoughts in comparison to ours. Love to hear about that. So let us know in the comments down below. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.